If you walk into a Mercedes-Benz dealership today, you are walking into a financial slaughterhouse. The cheapest model on the floor starts at $43,000. The average buyer walks out financing over $60,000. But the price tag is not the worst part. You are not buying a car. You are buying a depreciating subscription platform on wheels that Mercedes controls from a server room in Stuttgart. And today, I am going to show you exactly how smart drivers are opting out completely. Quick thing before we get into this, the data on this channel shows that over 80% of you watching right now are not subscribed. That means you are showing up for the content, but the algorithm has no reason to show you the next video. If you care about understanding what is really going on inside the automotive industry and how to protect your wallet from it, hit subscribe so you do not miss the next one. To understand the loophole, you first have to understand the trap. Look at the dashboard of any Mercedes-Benz built after 2018. The physical gauges are gone. The tactile climate knobs are gone. The chunky radio buttons that Mercedes was famous for are gone. In their place is a massive glowing screen glued to the center of the dashboard. The new E-Class has something called the MBUX Superscreen. 3 separate displays fused under a single sheet of glass that stretches the full width of the cabin. Mercedes will tell you this is a luxury upgrade. That is a lie. A single glass panel is dramatically cheaper to manufacture than 30 individual copper-wired analog switches. This is a corporate cost-cutting measure disguised as innovation, and it is a ticking time bomb for your wallet. In a 20-year-old Mercedes, if your climate control knob breaks, you go online, order a replacement for $30, pop it in with your fingers, and the cold air blows again. Total repair time, about 90 seconds. In a modern Mercedes, the climate controls are baked into the software of that touchscreen. When the screen inevitably freezes, delaminates from sitting in the sun, or the internal processor fries from a voltage spike, you lose your heat, your defrost, your radio, and your seat controls. The car becomes effectively undrivable. And when you bring it to the dealer, they cannot repair the screen. They replace the entire infotainment control module and hand you a bill for $3,000 to $6,000. One GLC owner posted online that the dealer quoted $6,000 to fix a blank screen on a car that was 4 years old. Your Mercedes has been financially totaled by a software glitch, but the touchscreens are just the bait. The real scam is running quietly in the background. Mercedes-Benz launched a $1,200 per year subscription in the United States that unlocks faster acceleration on its EQ electric models. Read that again. The electric motor is already physically sitting in your car. It is already capable of producing the extra power. Mercedes simply installed a software limiter at the factory and now charges you $1,200 every single year to remove it. That is a 20 to 24% increase in output that the hardware can already deliver. They are charging you a yearly ransom to use the motor you already paid for. And it gets worse. Mercedes charged $576 per year in Germany for rear-wheel steering on the EQS. The physical steering rack, the linkages, the actuators, every single component was already bolted to the car at the factory. Mercedes installed the parts, then put a digital padlock on them and demanded an annual subscription to let you turn your own wheels. You are paying $60,000 or more for the privilege of renting features from the machine sitting in your own driveway. And the financial extortion is only half the story. Every new Mercedes rolling off the assembly line today is equipped with a built-in cellular modem and a constant data connection. You are driving a 4,000-pound data harvester down the highway. These telematic systems actively monitor how hard you brake, how fast you accelerate, where you drive every single day, and how long you idle in traffic. Mercedes collects this data through its Mercedes Me Connect platform, and the entire auto industry has been caught packaging driving behavior data and selling it to insurance companies and third-party data brokers. Drivers across America have watched their insurance premiums spike overnight, not because they caused an accident, but because their own car reported them for braking too hard at a yellow light. You paid $60,000 for the privilege of being surveilled and monetized by the machine parked in your own garage. and the mechanical engineering under the hood is following the same downward trajectory. To hit fuel efficiency targets and emissions mandates, Mercedes has moved away from the naturally aspirated inline sixes and V8s that built their reputation. They are cramming tiny turbocharged four-cylinder engines into 5,000-pound luxury SUVs and pairing them with 9-speed automatic transmissions packed with so many planetary gear sets that independent mechanics cannot even service them without proprietary dealer software. The turbo seals degrade from heat cycling. The transmissions develop harsh shifts as the mechatronic units fail. And when the warranty expires, you are staring at repair bills that make the monthly payment look cheap by comparison. The entire modern Mercedes lineup is engineered to be a profitable trap, not a durable automobile. But there is an escape hatch, and it is sitting right in front of everyone on the used market. Mercedes-Benz vehicles built between roughly 1990 and 2005 exist in a completely different engineering universe. This was the era when Mercedes was still an engineering company, not a software subscription company. The cars from this period have modern electronic fuel injection, meaning they fire right up in the dead of winter. They have OBD2 diagnostic ports you can read with a cheap $20 scanner from any auto parts store. They have dual airbags, anti-lock brakes, and modern crumple zones. But because they were built before Mercedes went all in on screens and cellular modems, they carry zero digital poison. No touchscreens controlling your heat, no telematics modules broadcasting your location, no subscription paywalls between you and your own property. They use physical steel keys, thick copper wiring, and analog gauge clusters you can read at a glance. You get all the engineering excellence that made Mercedes-Benz the most respected name in the automotive industry, with none of the surveillance or fragile electronics. That is the pre-screen loophole, and here is exactly what you buy. You start with the entry point, the W202 C-Class, built from 1994 to 2000. This was the original C-Class engineered during the era when Mercedes still massively overbuilt their smaller cars. The C280 uses the M104 inline-6, a naturally aspirated engine that produces around 194 horsepower and has a documented reputation for running past 200,000 miles on basic maintenance alone. The build quality on the W202 is noticeably heavier than anything Mercedes makes today. The doors close with a vault-like thud. The switchgear feels like it was machined from solid metal. You can find a clean W202 C280 for $3,000 to $6,000. That is the price of 3 monthly payments on a new C-Class. Except this car is already paid off. It does not need a software update to roll down the windows. And it does not phone home to Stuttgart every time you start the engine. The W202 is the car Mercedes mechanics buy for their own families. That should tell you everything you need to know. If you need a daily driver with more room, you look for the W210 E-Class E320, built from 1996 to 2003. This car uses the M112 V6, one of the most reliable engines Mercedes ever produced. Around 221 horsepower through a proven 5-speed automatic. It came as a sedan and a wagon. Non-AMG sedans sell for $3,000 to $9,000. That is less than the price of a used Honda Civic. And you are getting a genuine Mercedes-Benz luxury sedan with heated leather seats, a smooth 6-cylinder, and 0 monthly subscriptions. The one thing to watch on the W210 is rust. Early models from 96 and 97 had issues around the wheel arches. You want a facelift car from 2000 or later, inspect the undercarriage, but find a clean one with service records and you have a car that independent mechanics love to work on, because it was built during the era when Mercedes still wanted third-party shops to survive. If you want something nobody else is looking at, you find the W208 CLK 320, built from 1998 to 2003. 2-door personal luxury coupe, the same M112 V6 as the E-Class. It looks like a car that costs 5 times what you paid for it. You can buy one for $5,000 to $8,000. Because it is a coupe in a market obsessed with SUVs, the prices have stayed completely flat while everything else has climbed. The CLK is arguably the best-looking Mercedes of its era, and it is sitting in plain sight on the used market, being completely ignored. For a convertible, there are two options, and both of them are absurd. The R170 SLK, built from 1998 to 2004, was the car that introduced the folding metal hardtop, a retractable steel roof that goes from coupe to convertible in 25 seconds, supercharged 4-cylinder, rear-wheel drive and full analog controls, $5,000 to $8,000. Nobody is talking about this car. That is exactly why you should be buying it. But the SLK is not even the most absurd deal on this list. The R129SL 500 was Mercedes' flagship Grand Touring convertible, built from 1990 to 2001. When it was new, it cost over $83,000. Adjusted for inflation, that is close to $190,000 in today's money. The SL500 uses the M1195-litre V8, the same engine that powered the legendary 500e sedan that Porsche helped assemble by hand. 315 horsepower. No turbochargers, no hybrid system, no electronic throttle body, just a naturally aspirated V8 connected to the rear wheels through a real hydraulic transmission. The R129 was also the first production car in the world to have an automatically deploying roll bar. Today, the average R129 SL500 sells for $10,000 to $19,000. You are buying a car that cost the equivalent of $190,000 new, with a hand-built V8, a folding hardtop, and full analog controls for less than the dealer markup on a new GLC. That is not a deal, that is a theft. If you want the ultimate luxury sedan, you look for the W140 S-Class S500, built from 1991 to 1998. The W140 is the car that almost bankrupted Mercedes-Benz because they categorically refused to compromise on a single component. The doors have dual-pane laminated glass for sound insulation. That is a technology you normally find in office buildings, not in automobiles. When you close the door, the cabin goes silent in a way that genuinely startles people the first time they experience it. The body panels are thicker than any production sedan before or since. The S500 uses the same M119 V8 as the SL, producing 315 horsepower in a car that weighs over 4,500 pounds. It should feel slow. It does not. It feels unstoppable. Quiet, smooth and relentless, like a freight train wrapped in leather. Average sale prices sit between $10,000 and $18,000. A pristine W140 S500 with full service records costs less than 1 year of lease payments on a new S-Class. And the W140 will still be running when that leased S-Class has been returned to the dealer and recycled into scrap metal. No touchscreen, no subscription, no software update required, just the finest engineering Mercedes-Benz has ever put into a production automobile. And then there is the ultimate loophole vehicle. The one car that Mercedes enthusiasts, independent mechanics and automotive journalists across the world almost universally agree is the single greatest Mercedes-Benz ever built. The W124 E-Class, manufactured from 1984 to 1997. Sedan, coupe, cabriolet and wagon. Every body style is worth owning. The engineering philosophy behind the W124 was simple and completely uncompromising. Build it once, build it right. Build it to survive. The body achieved a drag coefficient as low as 0.28, which was extraordinary for its era. The M104 inline-6 in the E320 produces 217 horsepower and is famous for clearing 300,000 miles on regular oil changes. The wiring harness uses thick copper. The switchgear is overspecified for every task. Every component was designed with a safety margin that the modern cost-cutting Mercedes corporate structure would never approve. Mercedes tested these cars across the Sahara Desert, through Scandinavian winters, and on the Autobahn for hundreds of thousands of kilometers before a single unit reached a customer. That is why they are still on the road 3 decades later. The W124 sedan averages around $8,000 to $11,000. The wagon averages around $14,000, and these prices are climbing every single year because the supply is permanently fixed and the demand is growing as more people figure out what these cars actually are. Here is how you execute the loophole. You do not finance. You save $5,000 to $15,000 in cash. You avoid the shiny dealership with the balloons and the predatory finance manager. You buy directly from private sellers or from independent Mercedes specialists who have been working on these cars for decades. You look for the physical indicators of a forever car. A metal key that turns a mechanical ignition cylinder, chunky plastic knobs for the air conditioning that clunk when you turn them, a traditional gear selector connected to a real mechanical cable running to the transmission, not a digital rotary dial sending an electronic signal, analog gauges behind real glass, a hood that opens to reveal an actual engine with visible components you can touch with your hands, not a wall of plastic, covers hiding a subscription platform underneath. When you inspect the car, you check for the things that actually matter on an old Mercedes. You look at the service records. A Mercedes with documented oil changes every 5,000 miles is worth twice as much as a mystery car with no paperwork. You check the subframe for rust. You check the valve cover gaskets for weeping. You check the automatic transmission fluid. If it is dark or smells burnt, walk away. If it is pinkish red and smells clean, that transmission has been cared for. These are mechanical checks, physical things you can see with your eyes and touch with your fingers. You do not need a dealer laptop and a $300 diagnostic session to evaluate a pre-screened Mercedes. You need a flashlight, a pair of hands, and basic common sense. When you buy a pre-screened Mercedes, you are not just saving money. You are severing the data pipeline. You are taking back ownership of your own vehicle. No corporation can remotely disable your features. No dealership can hold your car hostage behind a software paywall. No over-the-air update can brick your climate controls at 3 in the morning. You own the car. Every switch, every wire, every gear belongs to you. And no subscription on earth can take that away. The Mercedes-Benz dealership does not want you to know these cars exist. They want you to believe the only way to experience the 3-pointed star is to finance $70,000 worth of glass screens and monthly subscription fees. That is a lie. The greatest Mercedes models ever built are sitting on the used market right now for the price of a set of options on a new GLC. But Mercedes is not the only luxury brand running this exact playbook. The same subscription trap, the same screen dependency, the same planned obsolescence is happening right now across the entire German automotive industry. If you want to see how smart BMW and Audi owners are executing the exact same loophole and which specific models they are targeting, that video is on your screen right now. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing and we will see you in the next one. Thanks to our members for supporting our work. Link in the description if you want to support us as well.